So you've decided how you want to construct your identity on your digital portfolio. Or maybe you haven't yet. If you haven't thought about what you want to include on your portfolio or the types of work that you want to highlight, I encourage you to go back to the first video, which is portfolio artifacts and annotations, before you want this one. Because it's important to consider what you're going to upload and host in your portfolio before you think about where you're going to host it and how you're going to build it. Once you have decided the different work samples and materials you're going to include in your portfolio, now it's time to start building. Before we begin building, though, we have to think about where we're going to build our professional website. This is what we call hosting. Who's going to host the site? Which web hosting or building platform? Now, there are two options for you here, the paid option and the free option. And I wouldn't say that one is necessarily better than the other. It depends on where you're at in your career and your purposes and how much resources you have to allocate to putting your portfolio online. So the free option we'll start with, you can use a website builder like Weebly, Wix, or WordPress. All of these are big names, robust, readily available, and have free options where you can put a website online in seconds. It's easier to build on these websites because it's what we call drag and drop, as opposed to something that you have to do coding or back-end work for. It's less spendy, of course, because they're free. All these sites have paid options, so you can do additional premium features if you want to, but if you want to spend no money at all, you absolutely can. However, these websites have subdomains, right? It's not allegrasmith.com, it's allegrasmith.weebly.com. So it looks a little less professional in that way, and it could be less sustainable. All these are well-established platforms, but other less established ones could go away tomorrow, so proceed with caution. The paid option involves buying your own domain name to get your space on the internet, allegrasmith.com. It's good to do this for what we call search engine optimization, or SEO. It's easier for web search engines like Google to find you if you have your own domain name. And it helps you get ahead of your own identity on the internet so that others cannot, right? If you park johndoe.com, other people can't do it, so you can get ahead of that. Also looks more professional to have your domain name, but it can be costly. I pay over $40 per year to host and park my own domain name online. So if you don't have that kind of resources, don't worry. You can build a perfectly good professional website without paying for hosting. Once you decide where your site's going to go, then you can think about different ways to build it. Three big website building tools that I recommend are WordPress, Weebly, and Wix. WordPress was originally built for blogs, so journals online, but now people make whole websites out of WordPress. It has over 1,600 templates just available on the WordPress site alone, and you can find lots more online if you Google things like free WordPress templates. However, the support is not as good as on Weebly or Wix. Weebly has fewer templates, but it's easier to work with, and if you need support, you get quick replies from their help team. Wix has about 500 templates and many design and customization options, so many perhaps that people can get overwhelmed when they start out. However, with all that customization comes drawbacks. There are banner ads for Wix that are obvious on the page, making the site look a little less polished, but again, it's free, so we can't really complain. So once you decide where your site's going to go, then you can start thinking about layout and design. And typically, folks begin this by thinking, am I going to code my site? Am I going to get into the back end and customize it, or am I going to use a template? And I'm here to tell you there is no shame in using a template to build your professional website. I have a template on my professional website because I don't have the time or really the expertise to hand code my own page. Unless you're applying to be a web developer, you do not need to code your portfolio website by yourself. You might customize a template if you're applying for a more technical position to show off your design and technical expertise. There are lots of templates available from free hosting platforms like Weebly, Wix, and WordPress, and you can buy individual templates or bundles from many sources if you want something that looks a little more distinctive. For example, here I show that if you Google free WordPress templates, you get over 80 million results in Google. There are several available on WordPress itself and plenty more available all across the internet. You can see many sites that are highlighting the best themes of this year, which is 2023 as I am shooting this, but there were plenty more best themes of 2022, 2018, what have you. Here's another example from one of those sites that I found when I Googled, clicked it, and there are many popular free WordPress themes available here, and some of them tout different options, the ability to create a new landing page, the ability to do cool things with images, stuff like that. So once you have a vision in your mind of kind of what you want, look around, or if you're struggling to envision your site, look around and see if you can find a theme or a template that tickles your fancy, and then build from there. Once you've decided your template, if you're using one, or perhaps before your template, you can do these steps in the inverse. You're going to want to consider how you organize all the various portfolio pieces that you've selected to represent yourself. When you do this, there are a couple of considerations that are important to have in mind. First, your user experience. How do you want your site to be read? How do you want the user, the person who's going to go to your site, to navigate through it? This is an example from a portfolio from someone where if you click the 5th link on their navigation, digital marketing and writing portfolio, you're taken to a page where you can find several different categories. And so you could click on any of these categories to see samples from this person. This person has a very clear user experience that they want the visitor to their site to go through. You're going to want to also consider information architecture. So how do you group or categorize your content? What buckets or baskets do you see it in? How do you see your site and your work being structured? This person has a pretty simple navigation. It has work, then resume, then about, then contact. But under work, she has different categories to the types of work that she does. She sees her work falling under the categories of editing, storytelling and social media, campaign strategy, and graphic design. And so these are the buckets that she has put her portfolio pieces in and uploaded them and structured them. This is the information architecture of her site. When you're laying out your site, when you're considering its structure, it can be good to sketch it out on paper before you jump into a website builder. Particularly in Wix, when there are so many options, it can be overwhelming to begin. So you take a brief glance at it and then sit down and draw out what you want your site to look like and how you want it to be organized. You might consider having a landing page that shows off your most recent work, having your most current project featured, or you might have a single home page that's consistent throughout time. You're probably going to want a biography or an about me page that tells the visitors who you are and what you're all about. Think of this as your elevator pitch, right? This is where you are pitching yourself for the visitors to your site. You might want to have a blog, a place where you share updates, but I caution you against having a blog if you're not going to commit to updating it regularly. Nothing is less impressive than a website that is a blog that hasn't been updated since 2017. You might also have widgets that share updates from your social media if you have social media that is professionally oriented. When you think about your portfolio, you're going to want to consider these 6 guidelines. Keep it simple. You start out with just a couple of pages and add more as you go on, especially if you're new to this, right? If you're still a student at the sophomore, junior level, even senior level, you're going to want to start simple and then build as your career goes on. Cross-link between your pages. Make sure that you make the paths between your content apparent to your user. Images and text are both important. Include both and balance between them. Don't be too text heavy, but at the same time, don't have so little text that your reader doesn't know what you're about. Pay attention to accessibility. Know that Google is blind, so you should include alt text for all your images and heading styles when appropriate so that your page is screen readable. If you're going to have a blog, post at least once a month. Each post should be around 600 words, maybe less, maybe a little more, and at least one picture to help the search engine optimization of your page, to help make it findable by search engines. And only link your social media if it is professionally oriented. Don't put your personal Facebook or Instagram page on your portfolio unless it's something you want employers to be viewing. Okay, so after you've put your page together and you've published it, what do you do next? What do we do now, right? Well, you're going to want to make sure that your page isn't static. Design thinking should guide your site. Your portfolio shouldn't just be plunked up on the internet and then never updated again. You're going to want to continue to think about your users, define your goals, create stuff, and test it. What do I mean when I say that? Well, your portfolio today shouldn't be the same portfolio you have 5 years from now. It should evolve as you evolve, just like your resume. Don't be afraid to change stuff around, add stuff, take it away. And as you do that, you might want to think about user testing. User testing is when you grab a friend or a colleague and ask them to do something on your website or navigate through your website and talk aloud what they're thinking about. That way you can revise based on their feedback. Maybe if they find a link that's broken, or maybe they read about an experience you've had in the workplace and they think, gee, I'd really love more information on that. Take down some notes and then revise based on what they have to say. Your portfolio is a living thing. It shouldn't just be put up on the internet and never updated again. And then you're going to want to share it. Give it to prospective employers. Could it put it in your email signature or maybe on your resume? Get it business cards printed up and have it on there. As many eyes as you can get on your portfolio is a good thing. I hope that this lesson has helped you to understand how to build your digital portfolio online. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm awsmith@jsu.edu, Dr. Allegra Smith. Have a good day.